almost Halloween. Halloween has to be my favorite holiday. I always get so hyped for it, and it's just so much fun to dress up. However, I always kind of seem to be not prepared for Halloween. I kind of feel like I'm always so excited about it, and I'm getting caught up in the aesthetic. I'm getting caught up in the temperature change. In Bermuda, it's like the best temperature ever because the air is cooler, and also the water starts to cool down, so the ocean cools down, which is a big deal because it reaches a certain point in summer here where you go in the water and it's like bath water or something, and so now it's started to cool down enough so that it's actually refreshing. But I'm always excited about Halloween, especially Halloween cooking and baking. I really enjoy that too. And just like the spooky season vibes in general. But then I always feel like I'm scrambling at the last minute for a costume. It kind of happens every year without fail, even though I actually do spend a lot of time thinking about this. So I guess it's like the link between thinking and actually doing. But anyway, I feel proud of myself because it's like 10 days in advance or something, slightly more, to Halloween, and my costumes are done. I've figured out a couple of costumes. Okay, well that's not completely true. Okay, it's not completely true that my costumes are done. I've put together like 8 for this video, but I'm actually still working on one more because after putting all these costumes together, I decided, actually, I want to be an orange mushroom from Maple Story. Anyway, it's a long story, and I'm sure you've seen those like really popular mushroom hats that people are making, so I want to make one of those for myself. I'm in the process of making that. Anyway, getting back to what this actual video is trying to give you inspiration for Halloween costumes that you can make sustainably. So what we're talking about is making Halloween costumes from what you already have in your house or clothes you already own, maybe borrowing certain pieces from your friends or people you know, and then other options are making something, which also might be out of, fabric or something you already own, and thrifting something, like, breaking the waste cycle and repurposing something that might be donated or is going to be thrown out or you find at the barn or whatever, which is a thrift store in Bermuda. This is important because every holiday is just really wasteful. Like every year they manufacture things that we will buy which then sit in the landfill, and it changes every year and is fueled by capitalism, and it's really bad for our planet. So breaking that waste cycle is a really cool thing to do. You don't have to go out and buy a Halloween costume, you don't have to go out and buy anything. You can use things that you already have around and still look really cool for Halloween. So that's kind of the point of this video, is me trying to create costumes with things that I already have or, that belong to that list that I outlined. And so the point of this video is also to kind of outline how I create costumes, because I think a complete costume kit that you can buy, they try and replicate exactly how whatever character looks. But I think actually it can be more fun and interesting, and even sometimes appear more authentic, to just try and capture the vibe of what the character is. Like, what we're talking about here is you don't have to have the exact same cut of clothing the character has, or even necessarily the exact same color of clothing that they have, as long as some key elements are there, and like the general silhouette maybe of yourself looks like the character, it can still work really well. So I'll give you some examples of this with stuff that I found in my closet. And I do have to say that it helps to have some kind of more eccentric or costumey, fun and different pieces in your wardrobe for this, which I have because I like to wear those things very occasionally, even though right now my wardrobe is kind of becoming more bicycle shorts, t-shirt. I'm wearing a t-shirt right now, but I have some more like fun fashion weird pieces in it, which really helps, because you'll see in the costumes I've made, I reuse some of my like iconic pieces over and over because they just lend themselves to looking like a character, and you'll see what I mean. So if you don't have a wardrobe like this, maybe you can borrow something from your friend. It's kind of fun to look through your friend's closet who might have completely different things, and you can kind of explore and go crazy. And then of course there's the option of making things, which can be hard with like actual clothes. I guess I'm talking more about like masks or headpieces or like accessories you could make. And then the other option is thrifting. Oh, one other thing I have to say, it doesn't necessarily have to be your friend whose closet you steal from. Maybe it could be like someone in your immediate circle, like family. Like, I thought a lot about, I didn't actually steal anything from my dad's closet for this video, but I thought a lot about, oh, he would have something really applicable to this. Like, he has a nice leather jacket, and he has a bunch of bandanas, and he has stuff like that. So you could even borrow from a parent. It's just, it can be really freeing to look at someone's closet who's not your own, and then you can imagine stuff more easily. Yeah, like I said, I have about 8 costumes today, 7 or 8. I don't really know if I'll put all of them in. But yeah, I'll go through each one. I put them on and filmed them, and I'll talk about how I came up with the idea and how I constructed the costume, because they're all a little bit different. So the first costume is Nausicaa. From Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. It's a Studio Ghibli film. I'm sure tons of you have seen it. And man was it difficult to replicate any outfit of a Studio Ghibli female character. Because like a lot of people, these movies are really near and dear to my heart, and a lot of the characters are so iconic. Like, I've thought a lot about being Chihiro or Princess Mononoke. I've thought about being Kiki too. And all of them have really recognizable aesthetics, but their clothes are really hard to replicate. Like, it's kind of like you would have to probably make your own thing because the clothes are so unique. I was able to do Nausicaa because I had a couple of blue things. I had this blue turtleneck, or bluey green turtleneck, which I love, which I recently got from the barn just to wear in my everyday life because I love the color, I love the cut, love the turtleneck. It's so comfortable, and I'm kind of obsessed with the color, and you'll see that it comes up in a few of these costumes because the color is pretty iconic. So it would have been great if I had a whole dress, like turtleneck long sleeve dress in that color, because that's pretty much what Nausicaa wears. It's a high neck, long sleeve, one color thing. But I was like, in the absence of that, maybe I could make something similar by putting this tighter blue dress over it, and so that's what I did. And I think that it still kind of looks like cartoon character-y, and you can still tell like what I'm trying to do, I hope. Like, it looks kind of crazy, but I think it looks similar enough, and you can see what I mean, where it's like, you don't have to necessarily make the specific piece of clothing that whatever character is wearing. You can just make something that's reminiscent of that, and people will still in their mind be like, oh, like that looks like whatever. I hope. I also had added gloves to this because I wanted to make the outfit where she's like flying her hover glider thing. And I'm wearing Wellington boots. I don't know if you can see that in the video. In addition, here's the crafty piece of this costume. I made the helmet, so I actually spent like hours and hours doing this. I spent way too much time doing this, and this was done with an old baseball cap that I was gonna give to the barn, and I took the brim off, and then I sewed some blue fabric with from an old shirt to it, and then I used cardboard to make the little flappy things. It's not the best helmet, but I was in like hyperfixation mode trying to make it, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be amazing, blah blah blah. I have a lot of things to improve like on with sewing, so I think it's definitely not the best, but it's also reminiscent of the character. Like I'm saying, it has those flaps, that's what's important. So yeah, overall I'm pretty happy with this costume, but it's probably the one that took the most time investment on this list because I had to make that hat. And I know not everyone has access to materials and things to do something like that, but if you do, like I have very little sewing experience. Like I pretty much just looked at a picture of the hat and was like, let me just wing it. So I would encourage you to try that out. Like it can be fun, and like sometimes it really works out. My second costume is the Life Aquatic. what's carrying the costume for sure is that like bluey green turtleneck thing that I got that I love so much, because it's like the specific shade that they use in the movie, which is really helpful. I think the costume could be improved, you know, if I had shorts that were that shade. Obviously that's going to be really difficult to do, but my friend Sammy has a pair of like light blue shorts that I think would actually work better than these long pants. I chose to wear these long pants because they have the shade of blue in them, as well as some pink, which I was very excited about. And like I knew that when I bought the turtleneck, and I was like, it's gonna look so sick with my fish pants. But anyway, the silhouette is a little bit weird. It's more like manly, maybe less fitted than the movie, so that's something to consider. That's why I think it would be cool to maybe wear some light blue cycling shorts or something. But overall it looks cool because it's the colors they used in the movie. Of course they're wearing their like red orange beanies, and I didn't have that, but I had something that was sort of similar. You know, it had a pom-pom, it had red in it, so I thought it's good enough. And of course my binoculars. I think the binoculars really make the costume because you know, I don't know if there's even a scene where someone's slinging binoculars around their neck, but it just seems like a Wes Anderson thing, you know, like that's what I'm talking about, taking the whole aesthetic of the movie and putting it into a costume. In those like recreate in the style of Wes Anderson movies, everyone's always loving the straight on binocular shot, and I just think it really works. Yeah, so I was really happy with this costume. It's really simple and it's very comfortable, and I actually, like, you know, sometimes it's fun to be like sexy on Halloween, and I kept thinking that. I was like, why don't I do something kind of like sexy and beautiful? But I kept leaning toward these like comfortable outfits. So maybe that's the vibe this year, is just like being cozy. And yeah, just wanted to say that you don't have to be sexy if you don't want to. You can just wear something flowy. You don't have to wear something fitted, and you can still have a sick costume. And yeah, another side note is that Halloween season is always really cold. So like, if you, you know, you can find ways to factor in warm clothes into your costume and it'll still look really cool. The third costume is Cruella. And this is a good time to actually say that this entire video was inspired by the Purple Palace's video on Halloween costumes. I think that was the first video I ever watched of their channel. Like, that's what like got me into their channel. And I just thought the way that she approached costumes was amazing. She's an artist, like, go watch that video. She also does a Cruella costume, but just the way that she approached it was so cool, because she was also saying, like, just capture the vibe. Like, you don't have to have the specific piece. Like, it looks more, it kind of looks more fake sometimes when you do that. People will still get it if you have a couple of key elements. So, anyway, I had a lot of fun with this outfit. I got this black velvet dress a long time ago, secondhand somewhere, and I don't think I've ever actually worn it in everyday life. Oh no, that's not true. Okay, I wore it once to dinner with my family, but other than that I haven't really worn it, and it just feels really glam and costumey. Last year I actually lent it to my friend Meg, who wore it for what's the hot lady? Morticia. Yeah, so she borrowed it for that, and it worked really well. And I also think it works well for Cruella. Like, what's important about Cruella? Like, I didn't even look up a picture of her before I made this costume. I was just like, this is what I remember Cruella as being, and that's gonna be good enough. And I almost feel like that's more accessible. Like, that's what I remember. Those are the elements that stand out in my head about the character. And that's what's more important, rather than looking at a photo and trying to see, oh, she has a bead there, and like her hair is black and white and blah blah. Like, no, if I wanted to, I could dye my hair, but I don't really like to do stuff like that. It's kind of too messy. But I think wearing dramatic makeup would be really fun with this look. But what I thought was important was just the color palette, black, white, and red. And I found these opera gloves that I guess I must have bought for a specific reason a long time ago, that I still had. So I have my black dress and my like white opera gloves. In the actual thing, I think she's wearing red gloves, but it still works together, I think. Then I had my classic red coat, so wearing them all together feels very, very glam. And then I also just remembered her long cigarette on a cigarette holder. Now that I think about it, I don't know if she ever actually did that, did she? But that's what I remember her doing, is like having this comically long cigarette and like blowing smoke everywhere, and it was annoying everyone. So I had a lot of fun being kind of theatrical as Cruella. Okay, another silly one. The fourth costume is Luigi. Yeah, I recycled this blue dress again because I think it just worked really well. And then, yeah, I just had this this green hat, and I didn't even put like the Luigi L on it. I could if I wanted to. It would be really easy, just like get some paper and like draw it. But I think the character looks enough like Luigi without even doing that. So that's yeah, that's how I felt. And I had a lot of fun acting like Luigi, as you can see. And yeah, what I did here was use the white gloves from the Cruella costume, and I just rolled them down so they looked like those classic like white Mickey Mouse like Mario glove type of things. And then I had just black Vans, which is what he wears. And man, running around looking like Luigi, yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Of course, this could also be a fun like group costume where you all do kind of Mario characters, because they're all pretty easy and like recognizable, especially if you're in a group together, like walking around together. Another thing I wanted to say is I feel like cartoon characters specifically are pretty easy to do. Like when you think about making a Halloween costume, because they all have these like simple outfits, like they probably have a color palette, and if you have something similar, you can look quite a lot like them even if you don't have their specific items. You can also make some iconic items if you want to do that. So the next costume is just a fisherman. And you'll notice that like a lot of the other ones are trying to be specific characters, but then I thought, you know, old-timey Halloween, people were just doing whatever. Like people were just being professions or being like, you know, a certain like type of person, not a character, you know what I mean? So I was like, why don't I do that? Why don't I explore that? Because it feels very freeing, and like I can do whatever I want and people will still read it as the costume I'm intending. This is a big tip for your Halloween costume. If you have a shed or an attic or a basement, I guess, explore that for weird stuff that you can use, because I have a big shed, like my dad has tools and stores a bunch of stuff in there, and going in there I realized, oh my god, we have so much stuff that could be like fisherman-esque, because we have a pretty like nautical house. So I found a life jacket in there, and then I had my Helly Hansen that I wear like every day. And I recently got this cool hat that's kind of like a paperboy hat or something, and I just feel like it looks really iconic. I used half a clothespin as a cigarette, and I don't know, I have so much fun walking around like this, and like I felt so protected because you have the layer of the life jacket. And so there's been plenty of times where for Halloween I'm sure I've been wearing like a thin layer and not felt very secure in my costume, but this one, it just feels like I can do whatever I want. It feels like I'm invincible. And because I kind of imagine the attitude of a fisherman to be like very stoic and like grizzled and stuff, I don't know, I just felt pretty confident wearing it. So that's kind of a tip. Like, I guess sometimes it's fun to dress up as someone male, I suppose. It can just be fun to experiment with that, and then you might find that you feel really confident in the costume. But yeah, this one was so simple, and the life jacket really carries it, I think. I also had a fishing rod, but I think that would just be annoying to carry around all night. Like, this is another aspect of Halloween costumes. When I was making these, I was like, I want to do this as practically as possible because I know myself. Like, I'm not just gonna want to wander around all night carrying something, holding something weird. So I tried to make them just wearable rather than having props. The next costume is Quint from Jaws. And this is kind of like a riff off of the fisherman one. Yeah, I had a lot of fun dressing up as this. I love Jaws. Like, I think it's a really iconic movie, but I haven't seen it in quite a long time. I also think it really holds up today still. Like, it's still suspenseful, even though the shark, probably it doesn't really look real, but like I think it's still a suspenseful movie because of how they've done it. And yeah, frightening, really cool. And Clint is such an iconic character, like just the way that he delivers everything and the way that he's so serious and the way that he's so rugged and like has had all these crazy experiences. Yeah, I just think he's awesome. And the classic outfit of Clint, I think, is just like a blue shirt and a green jacket and a hat, which is not very recognizable. Of course, his like, whatever that is, mutton chop beard thing, I don't know what that is, but that's the most recognizable part of him. But I also discovered this other outfit he wears, and this is when he gets hired to kill the shark. I think he's like in his workshop or something, and he has like blood on his hands. I think he's been like carving up a shark. And he's also making tea for the other guys, and he's wearing this like fisherman sweater type of thing, and then he has an apron on because he's been it's a rubber apron because he's been doing like gross work, and his classic hat. So that's what I tried to replicate here. I think that there's a possibility I could borrow like a real rubber apron, because I have some friends who work at this biological station and they have scientific equipment like that. So I wonder if I could borrow one that would make it look even more authentic. However, I think this is probably one of the least recognizable characters that I picked, because Clint is so hard to replicate. Okay, but I think if I put some blood on my hands, maybe that would be even better, or incorporated like shark stuff onto me. And I actually thought about this. I have a ton of, stuff I found on the beach. Like I have a fish skeleton and I have those hogfish jaws that I'm using in the video, and like incorporating those somewhere would be cool. And for the last costume, it's a cowboy. It's a cowboy. Or cowgirl, whatever. 'Cause again, I just realized that I had all these things that would work really well for it. I think all you kind of need is just a button-down top, some kind of pants. Like, I don't wear jeans anymore, but jeans would be very applicable because cowboys wear them. But then I thought, oh, I'll use these like terracotta yoga pants I have because it's sort of similar to like cow skin or cow leather. Then I had these cow print socks and boots, and then obviously the old-timey western type of belt I think really makes the outfit, which I've used a couple times. And I'm just wearing my big sun hat that I wear for summer. It's not a cowboy hat, but it looks enough like it that I think it kind of works. And then rope. Everybody has rope, like probably around your house somewhere. So I just think, man, cowboy, cowgirl is such an easy and satisfying costume to do. I also felt like it was a good mix of like comfortable and like tight fitting. Like I felt like cute wearing it. So that was really fun, and I think I could go crazy with like the hair and makeup as well to make it more cowgirly. So yeah, I think it works super good. Oh, and I guess I'm gonna show one bonus costume. Get ready for the bonus costume, which is Barnacle Boy, and that's who I went as last year. This costume was so easy, I couldn't believe it. Again, with cartoon characters, like I've been saying, cartoon characters can sometimes be really easy because it's just like a color scheme. And I was really lucky to have this red bathing suit, which worked well as like a spandex, superhero suit. Like I could have made so many different superheroes with this type of thing. So yeah, that's another thing. Think about unconventional things in your closet, like a bathing suit, because you can use it in weird ways, potentially, to make your character. But yeah, man, it was so easy. Like, I just wore like leggings under the red thing, and then I pretty much looked like Barnacle Boy. I made the paper hat, I had the shell lying around, which I just like attached with wire and ribbon, and I wore washing up gloves in the final costume, and the blue Wellington boots that I wore for Nausicaa. And just like stuff like that, that's just like one color, is so effective in making a cartoon character. So would recommend like SpongeBob or other cartoon characters. They're so fun to make. Alright, so those are all my Halloween costumes. Those are my Halloween costume suggestions and tips for you, and suggestions of ways to keep things sustainable. Because all of these, like I said, were made with stuff in my closet. A lot of it I had thrifted, because most of my closet is thrifted. But there's so many ways to make fantastic Halloween costumes. And if you have some really basic elements in your closet that look sort of like the character, there's the possibility to make stuff, like make some iconic accessories that will really bring the costume together. So yeah, and don't forget like borrowing stuff from your friends and like going out and thrifting stuff. You can go through all these steps before you buy a costume. There's almost no reason in my mind to buy a costume, and like, you know, way back in the day, I'm sure you've seen those weird photos of like really creepy costumes, because those are all handmade, and so I think it's kind of like, it's fun to be authentic to Halloween traditions or something and say like, oh, I'm just gonna hand make everything, or like use what I have, and it can look more like eclectic and cool. And like I said, if you just kind of think about capturing the vibe of a certain character instead of trying to absolutely match everything that they have, it can be way easier to recreate with stuff you have in your closet, and I think it can sometimes look even more authentic, rather than trying to replicate everything. I hoped you liked my costumes. I had a lot of fun putting this video together, because yeah, like I said, I'm usually not prepared for Halloween, but it forced me to be prepared, and it also let me try out a bunch of different types of costumes instead of just making one, which is what I do usually every year. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Like I said, I think from these costumes, man, I really enjoyed like all of them for different reasons, and there's still possibilities that I might use them because I have a couple of different Halloween events this year. But like I said, after I finished filming all the different costumes for this video, I saw one of those mushroom hat videos online, and I was like, I need a mushroom hat. I want to be a mushroom. Specifically, I want to be an orange mushroom from Maple Story, because I was like, I want to make a costume that is really nostalgic to me, and I think about Maple Story a lot, and I'm so sad that I can't play old school Maple Story anymore. So I just think that's going to be fun, and all I have to do is make the big orange mushroom hat, give myself some like blush, and then I just wear like white and orange clothes, and I think that's going to be a really fun and like low effort costume. Like I don't have to wear anything specific, I just have to have the cool hat, which I'll have fun making. So yeah, that's my big plan for Halloween, I think.